So welcome to this introduction session to the online learning at Pathshala. I'm here with Shahidul Alam, and we're going to be talking through, we're going to have a conversation about what this course is, or what these courses are, what they offer, how you access them, and what we hope are the benefits to you for taking the courses. Now, let me introduce myself first. My name's DJ Clark. I'm a visual journalist and educator. I've been working in Asia for the last 15 years. I've been based here mainly 10 years in China, 15 years in Greater China. I'm now in Hong Kong. And I run a team of visual journalists. I also have been teaching at the University of Bolton. We run 2 MA courses in visual journalism in China. That are validated from the UK. We have international students there as well as being involved with the World Press Photo Education Program, with the Asia Center for Journalism, and of course with Pathshala, who I've done a number of projects with, one of which we'll talk about later, probably one of the best projects I think I've ever done with Pathshala. Plus my own work, I work as a visual journalist. On top of that, I've worked with National Geographic, with pretty well every production house that you might want. A long time with The Economist. I've done stuff for the BBC, Time Magazine, and people like that. I'm currently the head of multimedia at the Asia office for China Daily. And more recently, I've been, just last year, I've been involved with a 360 project that has covered the Hong Kong protests and gone on to win a lot of awards. Shahidul, over to you.
Good to be with you again, DJ. One of the byproducts of this is that we get to meet and talk every now and then. I'm Shahidul Alam. I'm the founder of the Rig Picture Library, Pathshala, South Asia Media Institute, Chobi Mela, the Festival of Photography in Asia, Majority World, which is an agency which promotes the work of non-Western photographers globally, and the project that DJ was referring to, the Rural Visual Journalism Network, which is a network of rural journalists working across Bangladesh who provide small multimedia feeds for mainstream media. So let me move on to what we're going to do today. We are talking roughly about a project we've begun, which has been supported by the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. The Konrad Adenauer Foundation is internationally committed to achieving and maintaining peace, freedom, and justice through political education. It's a very good fit with us because that primarily is also what we've been doing in our own way. And both our entities here in Bangladesh and the Konrad Adenauer Foundation are dedicated to promoting peace, preserving democracy, and working to consolidate the values consensus. We've done a lot of work in media generally, in media education, but also as an activist in terms of intervening in the democratic space. My association with DJ goes back a very, very long way, from when we started looking for people to contribute to a book we were going to work on, but also because DJ's been involved with Pathshala when he did his PhD. He did some of his field work here, and we've been involved in teaching in various places, including no, we've never done any teaching in Hong Kong. I think we did something in Taipei. But anyway, let's move on to the main thing. So DJ, could you give us a short intro of the media program Asia that we're about to embark upon?
I've got a sort of official spiel that I can read, but I can tell you more about it. I mean, the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung has 3 major prongs, as far as I understand, 3 major programs, one of which is a media program. The Asia mission is to strengthen the dialogue between media and politics, to monitor and highlight current media trends in the region through publications, events, and to support the training of journalists towards a free, ethical, and responsible press. And this is very much what this project is about. We are focusing not just on Bangladesh this time, as we have done previously with a lot of the work around Pashala, but going further afield and looking to, through going online, which is we've been forced to as a result of the COVID-19 situation, we're looking to try to expand to other Asian journalists who can now access the expertise. As you probably know, I think we're going to talk about this a bit, or maybe Shahidul, you're going to introduce it, but Pashala is a place that has a world renowned, and I should say this, it's something that it's a place that I really believe in terms of visual journalistic education. It has probably some of the best graduates in the world in terms of awards being won. They're winning awards left, right, and center in international competitions. They also have an amazing staff and faculty of some incredible visual journalists who, again, not only have won awards, but worked all over the world, as well as the visiting faculty that they have of people coming through. Just about every visual journalist, particularly photojournalist, who is somebody who's well known, they will know about Pashala, and every time they come to Bangladesh, they're sure to visit and give some classes at Pashala. So it's really a bright light in terms of journalistic education anywhere in the world. And it's just such a privilege that I've been able to be involved, as Shahidul has said, for many years. I think back to the early 90s when we first made contact with each other. So that's the sort of background. I think I need to now ask you a question if we're moving on to where we go from here. Unless you want to talk more about Pashala and Drik and Chobi Mela and all the other things, Majority World.
Yeah, let me, I think it's relevant because it provides context in this particular situation. Drik was set up in 1989, largely in response to what we felt was the misrepresentation of what we call the majority world. And we began this because we felt a platform needed to be there for local storytellers to tell their stories, and that we could in some ways perhaps challenge the stereotype about these countries that prevail. As we went along, we set up Pashala, the School of Photography, which now also does film and television training. Later on, there wasn't a festival of photography in Asia at that time, so we set up the first festival of photography in Asia called Chobi Mela, and that has spawned many other festivals across Asia now. We then, Drik was very successful within Bangladesh, but we then decided we would replicate it in two directions. In the global direction, through an agency called Majority World, which is based in the UK, but has a distribution office in Sri Lanka, and the technical support is provided here in Bangladesh. But what Majority World does is it represents non-Western photographers, minority photographers, photographers who are other ways marginalized, and tries to promote their work and make sure that they have an equal footing in competing with other photographers. But we also began what DJ was talking to earlier about, the Rural Visual Journalism Network. And this is a program through which, when we began, they were using the iPod Touch. And using the iPod Touch, they were producing small multimedia feeds, which they were editing using the iPod Touch. And we then were distributing this material through Drik News. And today, the Deutsche Welle, for instance, the German broadcast channel, regularly broadcasts a program directly from rural Bangladesh to an international audience. So this is a way in which we've been able to jump over some of the obstacles that have been there on the way. Now, in the basis of what we've been doing so far, one important thing is with the Konrad Adenauer Foundation and ourselves, social justice essentially underpins what we do. Drik obviously was very much about social justice, and that being the parent organization, has allowed that idea to percolate throughout. But we've concentrated on visual media, and we've looked specifically on areas of identity and representation. So that really is our identity, if you like. Perhaps, DJ, you could talk about some of the reasons why this training is important.
Yes, so for me, the reason I was quite excited about talking to Bashala about this, and also talking to KAS about this as a potential project, was really the reach of online education. It is something that has developed over many years. I've been involved in teaching online since the mid-90s, the late 90s, believe it or not. In very early days of the internet, saw the potential for online education. But it is something that's taken quite a while to mature, and particularly in a subject like visual, in this case, visual journalism, where you're trying to teach people a lot of practical skills. It's not that easy to do. But over the years, and certainly with the help of organizations like the British Council and the World Press Photo, who have helped me train me in some of these new techniques and experiment with them, as well as my work through the university, is that what we've learned is that we can deliver now what we feel is a credible course. I'm not going to say it's equal to what it would be if you're in the classroom, but it's credible in the fact that you can learn the skills that you need to learn, and you can benefit tremendously from the knowledge of now the people that are really at the forefront of what's going on. So what this allows Bashala to do is to take that expertise, and rather than offer it to a small number of students just in Bangladesh, some of those international students who are coming in who have the time to do that, but really anybody. And that's particularly for people who wouldn't normally be able to get access to that kind of quality of training. So what excites me about it is that what we can do is take the expertise of Bashala and then distribute it or allow people from all over Asia. It doesn't matter what their background is, if they're just a photojournalist working in a small paper, in a small town somewhere, anywhere throughout the region, that they can still get access to this. They can do it in their own time. They don't have to be a full-time student, and benefit from the incredible teachers that you have. And obviously, your reputation speaks for itself just by looking at what your students have gone on to do. As I said, up until this point, these have only been able to be people who were physically able to attend Bashala, and what we're trying to do through this, and an opportune time during COVID, because it's also a time where I know at Bashala you need to do this anyway, because your students aren't allowed to gather and be physically present in the way that they have been previously. And so it's a great time to really kind of put this together and then open it up to visual journalists all over the region to have the benefit of your expertise. So that, in a nutshell, I would say, is why I think this project is really exciting. And I'm sure people will know of your reputation anyway. And for them now to be able to get access in a way they couldn't do previously, I think is a huge step forward.
DJ, as you might hear, the azan in the background is going on. So perhaps you could continue while I stay on mute. One of the things which it would be useful to discuss is how the courses themselves are structured. Who are they for? Who will benefit? And what is it intended to do?
Okay, so I'll go into some details of the courses as a whole. I think we've been through the main part here. So let me just bring up the courses document so I've got them one by one. So to kick this off, we have started with 6 courses. We hope to expand it to more courses in the future, but these are 6 fundamental courses that we feel everybody would benefit from from practicing visual journalists, people who are working as photographers or video journalists or any other type of visual journalist within their own field, to people who are students and thinking about sort of going into the profession at a later date. These are 6 fundamental courses. We start with photojournalism, of course. Now, this has been at the heart of Pathshala since the very start. And this course is designed to introduce people to the basic concepts of photojournalism, give them some practical training, and allow them to go out and start practicing. The second would be video journalism. I'll go through these quickly and I'll talk about the sort of whole structure, the whole kind of fundamentals before we go into much more granular detail about each of the courses. Video journalism, again, an introduction from what I would say a guy I've been working with. I mean, I've been working for many years, a really excellent teacher who has lots and lots of experience. And then journalism ethics, of course, this is something that has been so important to what Pathshala has done. It's really sort of grounded its students, as Shahidul was talking about earlier, in social justice, but also thinking about what a journalist is and what they can and cannot do. And it's a massively important subject in this region. Investigative journalism and safety guidelines, of course, is the next thing. And again, we have more people teaching on that. And then finally, we're also talking about writing for visual journalism. And this is a subject that's very rarely talked about, but visual journalists do need to be able to write a little bit. And the difference between this writing course and other writing courses that are solely designed to teach people to write, this is taking the fact that visual journalists are different and they have particular needs, certain things that they need to write. They need to write captions for their photographs. They need to write short paragraphs to introduce their projects. They need to write grant applications to be able to tell people what kind of subjects they're talking about. And these are important skills to have, but we're not trying to get them to write long pieces. The way that the courses are structured is that they're designed to have 6 short videos that will introduce you to a subject. It'll give you a sense of what that subject is about, and it will set you off on a course of inquiry-based learning. That means it will ask you to do a practical subject, a practical exercise that will allow you to discover more about the subject that you're talking about. And then you will come back if you've a fee-paying student, and there's 2 types of students. There's free students who can just do that part, but if you want to get the feedback, the critique back from the tutor, you'll be on the fee-paying mode, and it'll be a small fee and hopefully accessible to anyone. Should be able to do this, but then you will get the chance to have feedback, and a lot of the learning outcomes, a lot of the learning points will be delivered to you. The key learning points will be delivered through the critique. And so this combination of what we call inquiry-based learning is something that has been practiced and built over many years. And I think this is something that now works. We have proof that it works. And it should be a fun course to do, because you're not spending hours and hours just listening to long lectures. We're introducing things to you, we're getting you out and doing something practical, and you're learning as it was on the job, and then you come back and you show what you've got, and then you're going to get all the critique, all the feedback that you need to be able to progress to the next module. We've also got experts, so we have a main teacher, and then we'll have 1 international expert who will come in and give 1 lecture. That's designed for inspiration, to try to make you really kind of understand from an expert's point of view of where you want to get to and the kind of things that you might want to do in the future.
Thank you for that overall roundup, DJ. That's very useful. But I'd also like to talk a little bit about how this course came about, because really, you touched upon it. We are in a very particular time. With COVID, the school came to a halt, complete halt. Students were not able to come. While we knew of online teaching, we weren't actually practicing it. And COVID gave two requirements. One, for students to carry on learning, but also the survival of the school itself was dependent on it, because without students coming in, there was no income, salaries needed to be paid, overheads were there. So our very survival became an issue. And this project actually has done several things. The other thing is we have students coming in need to, and particularly there are many countries which are very sensitive whenever they hear of journalism of any form, and Bangladesh is not different in that sense. So student visas have been very difficult to get, and also because of the travel restrictions and things like that, our international program, which is a very important part of what we do, came to a complete halt. But we've been able to revive it because of this and because of the things we're able to do. But the students, of course, can carry on working. And now we're looking at a hybrid where they will come in occasionally. Of course, we need to maintain the distances still. And there are some courses which we've not been able to start up again, which is the darkroom course and the very physical courses. But even within this, as DJ you mentioned, we will be having assignments. So we will be going out, shooting, doing other things which are relevant to the class itself. So the program was very necessary. It wasn't merely a cosmetic thing. It was a functional requirement, both from the school and the students and for the larger community, because as you mentioned, we have this very, very fine faculty. And we felt, in a sense, we were wasting an opportunity by not making this faculty available to the much bigger community outside. So let me then talk about some of the teachers. One of them, of course, is DJ Clark himself. You did mention what you do, and you very briefly went over the fact that the recent immersive film that you did, I don't know what you call it.
Battleground.
I'll come back to it. I'll let you. Thank you. Thank you. But I mean, that's been winning awards everywhere, and it's such a groundbreaking production. I mean, I remember going through this with you when we discussed this on the film festival discussion. But quite apart from that, I mean, it really is very much now. But for me, what is also interesting is that it was done by someone, you in this case, who is not a technical expert in that area. You're a journalist, a visual journalist doing your job, but you were able to take this and very intelligently adapt it to the real situation of Hong Kong. And I found that fascinating. So, I mean, you're one of the teachers. Another teacher is Hussein Fatemi, the Iranian photojournalist, very, very fine photojournalist. I met him first when he was a young guy in Tehran, but he was already doing very strong work, particularly on conflict photography. He's with Panos Pictures. He later went on to win awards at World Press Photo, at POI in multiple categories. He's won a string of awards all down the line. He lives in New York, so he's going to be joining from there. But that's also one of the things we can do. Because of this situation, we can pull in people from all over the place. So Hussein Fatemi is one of the teachers, mentors that the participants will have the opportunity of interacting with. Then we'll have Nayantara Gurung Kakshapati from Nepal. She is this year the chair of the international jury, one of the two chairs of the international jury of World Press. She was also a teacher in masterclass. She was the founder of Photo Kathmandu, the founder of Photo Circle, a photographer in her own right, but is also someone who is very, very involved in the dissemination of photography and how photography is used, and dealing with photography as it is practiced in the media and in daily life. And she will be talking about journalism ethics. Then we will have others. One of them is Taslima Akhtar. some of you may know this very famous photograph of the embrace during the Rana Plaza disaster. Taslima was the one who'd taken this photograph, and it's not an accident that she took the photograph, because she is an activist herself. She's been very involved with the workers' rights, particularly with the rights of garment workers. And when all the other journalists had left, she was still there working. And of course, she got this incredible image, which was selected as one of the 10 best photos of the year by Time magazine and won the World Press Award and things like that. She will be talking about journalism ethics, but she will be the local teacher. Nayantara will be bringing in the international perspective. Now, I will myself be doing one class. Sorry, DJ?
I was going to give you a break and introduce a couple of people, because I know there's a couple on
Yes,
that list who
do.
I know quite well. One is the writing tutor, who is Pratibha Talada. She has worked, well, I first got to know her as an anchor on TV. When I was in Nepal, she was reading the news, the English news that went out on the main news channel in Nepal. She worked as a DPA, so the German agency, a writer correspondent for Nepal for a number of years also. Had worked with the BBC Action Trust and with other people as well. But the reason I knew her also was because she ran a similar course at the Asia Center for Journalism on a diploma that I was involved in setting up, and still does. And she's been a huge success with that, teaching photojournalists how to write. And I think that is a very specific skill. You can bring in a writer who can just teach writing, but somebody who really understands visual journalists, what they need, and their particular issues that they have with writing. A lot of photojournalists are a bit scared of it, and she's very good at encouraging people to write and write very well as a result of that. Also, of course, Amin Uzzaman. I always call him Amin. Am I getting his surname right? Uzzaman.
You're right. Yeah. Amin is what we call him.
A very old friend, and again. And again, I worked with Amin during the Rural Visual Journalism Network. We did the first training together, and Amin went on to do the later training of all the visual journalists, all the rural journalists. And so he has a lot of experience, not only and a number of awards and exhibitions and things, as well as himself as a video journalist working at DRIC for many years. He has an academic side as well. But as well as all of that, he has this great experience of working together with me for those years that we did that. And that was a hugely successful project. And I'm hoping that this one will be like that.
Thanks for that, DJ. I should correct a little mistake that I made when I was talking about Taslima. Taslima will actually be teaching the investigative journalism component. The person who'll be doing the ethics is Saidia Gulrukh, and she is the head of research at DRIC. She also is deputy editor of a newspaper. So she's someone who sees it from both sides. At DRIC, she obviously is involved in the production side of it, but as an editor of a leading daily, she receives the material and has to go through, and she's the one who gives assignments to journalists and sees their work. And of course herself, she's also an activist, very engaged with a lot of the popular movements here. And so ethics is something that she is engaged with on a very practical level. We tend to look at ethics from a theoretical perspective, but what actually happens in real life when you have to deal with situations where the textbook doesn't always answer those questions. Those are the real life situations. And Saidia, I mean, she has a PhD in anthropology, and she so has that social sciences background as well. But so she's a researcher, she's an academic, she's an editor, and she's also involved with us in terms of everyday production. So she's someone who brings a wealth of talent in that sense. Another photographer, the international photographer you'll be involved with is Gemunu Amarasinghe. Gemunu, I got in touch with because I was then running a World Press workshop in Sri Lanka, and something very interesting happened. I'm trying to think who was with me at that time. I think it was the director of photography of the Herald Tribune. So we were teaching together, and that was when the attack, the LTT attack on the airport took place. So I became the de facto picture editor. So all my students had left. They were there out there taking pictures, sending them across to me. I mean, you still had internet was working. So I was receiving all this, and I had a virtual picture desk in the middle of Goldface Hotel. And I was seeing these pictures before we were transmitting everywhere across the globe. But Gemunu was a very well-known photojournalist then. He, of course, is one of the best-known photojournalists from this part of the globe today. He works in a number of different countries, but he will be talking about the realities of photojournalism. He's one of the people who will be presenting a video in terms of his experiences. As a wire photographer, obviously, he has a very different reality to that of either freelancers or people who work in newspapers as stringers. So he brings in a very different perspective. Anyone else you wanted to talk about, DJ? Or I can continue. I could even talk about my own course, if you like. I'll be talking about immersive journalism, interactive journalism, and what's happening today. In a sense, it draws very much on what you do as well. But one of the things I'll be talking about is introducing the concept, the fact that the internet has really changed our world completely. And the fact that because we use media in a very, very different way today, the role not only of the journalist, but of the audience has changed very much. And the fact that it is now a two-way street is some of the things we'll be talking about. I will go through it, aspects like the evolution of the printing press and how we've gone from there to things like 360 video, AI, AR, all of that today. I will also be talking about single scroll multimedia storytelling and look at how storytellers bring a story to life. One of the components we will have within my 6, there's a 6 within the 6. So my own program, and I think all of us have split it up as well. We have a guest speaker section, and there you come in to talk about Battleground PolyU in much more detail, of course. But we will also be talking about non-digital forms of interactive and immersive journalism. We use it quite extensively. In Bangladesh, we have outdoor exhibits, we design shows for particular events, for particular messages, and we place it in situations where they will have an effect. So one of the things, we won't have a chance to show it perhaps on this occasion because we've been too successful. One of the things we campaigned for is to bring down a building that belonged to the Garment Owners Association. It was a huge 17-storied building which had gone up without government permission. And it had gone up in the middle of a water body, which was also illegal. They'd filled up a water body to build this building. One prime minister had inaugurated the land, one prime minister inaugurated the building, and the building was completely illegal. So we did a show in front of the building itself, and I took my classes there. And this is just one of the many ways in which we've done shows on bullock carts, on boats, on tuk-tuks in different countries, on camels across deserts. So I'll be talking a little bit about those other ways of doing things. But I will also round up the course in terms of talking again about the new technology and some of the key principles that journalists need to look at for any project. And so these sessions will be about 20 minutes long, though the guest talk will be longer. So there'll be tight things, but at the end of these situations, we will also be giving out assignments and expecting you to be doing that, bringing it back, so there will be some opportunity for critique. Over to you, DJ.
Okay, well, I think you pretty well summed up most of the courses. We have an incredible group of people together to make this happen, and this is one of the great things, of course, about doing online, is that you're not limited to only people who can be in the classroom at one point in time. We have learned from many years of online experience of teaching in different places and working with some of the best organizations around the world who've been trying to create different types of visual journalism education programs. We think we've really hit the nail on the head on this one. We're hoping that as many people as possible will be able to access this. It will be free if you are going for the basic, and then there'll be a small fee to pay, which we would recommend, of course, where you'll be able to get feedback and be able to talk with some of the other students who are on the course at the same time. Of course, there's a certification program that you'll be getting certificates from Pathshala as a result of this. So also something that may be of value to you if you need to prove to people that you've completed your photojournalism course or your video journalism course or whichever you've done. But as we've said the whole way through, we think that we're able to offer something that is quite unique, that is Asia specific, and that has some of the best practitioners in this region who are living and working in this region at the moment contributing to it. I'm not sure if there's anything else that you want to add before we wrap up, Shahidul, but I'm...
Yeah, one person I should have mentioned was Munirul Alam. He is someone who's going to be talking about photojournalism. He's a local teacher who'll be talking about photojournalism. And Munir is, like Amin, a former student of Pathshala. I mean, most of the teachers today in Pathshala are former students who've now become the faculty. He was born in Old Dhaka in Bangladesh. He took up photography in 1994 and he finished a bachelor's in accounting at the National University. But then he initially was involved in Pathshala as a coordinator and then joined the course itself. So he graduated from Pathshala and then he took a postgraduate certificate course on broadcast and cross-media journalism at BRAC University, along with Erasmus University. But more relevant, Munir now works with the Daily Prathamalu, the largest daily newspaper in Bangladesh, as the deputy chief photojournalist. He also joined EPA as a visual journalist. So he straddles all of that. I mean, he's been a freelance photographer. He's been a photographer with a leading newspaper. He's now a photographer with an international wire agency. So he brings a whole gamut of experiences, and he will be able to give a very real-life perspective in this talk. I think we've pretty much covered the courses themselves. Perhaps it'll be good to talk about what we hope to do in the future, because the videos will be hosted in YouTube. It'll be embedded into a website, which allows students to easily navigate from one section to another. You can pick one course or another, depending upon what skill you might want to have. I mean, this is almost like hypertext, where you can move forward and back, and depending upon your own skill sets, take as much or as little time with any of the course that goes on. Certainly, the people who are mentored will have the chance to have a one-to-one with some of the teachers, and those who want the full bang can get the certificate course, and where you will not only get the entire shebang, but you will also get a certificate at the end. So I think that's about it. The idea really is that we at Pathshala wanted to share our skills. We wanted to open up the school to a much wider community outside who we felt we could serve. And I think one of the things it also does is through this, we build a community across our borders. We live in a part of the world which is fraught with all sorts of problems. You have India, a nuclear state, Pakistan, a nuclear state, sometimes on the verge of war. We have Bangladesh, which came out of a bloody civil war in the subcontinent itself. So I think one of the things that this course can also do is build a community of professionals across international borders who can work together, work towards peace, work towards democracy, the very things that is so intrinsic to the ethos of both Pathshala, but also the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. Maybe with that, DJ, we should invite the participants. Is there anything they need to know in terms of how to join or what to do?
I think those details hopefully will be accompanying with this video once they're released, how to register for the courses. We don't have those details with us right this minute, but they will be by the time this goes out. Hopefully they'll be able to be shared with as part of the text for this. But it should be very simple sign-up process. As Shahidul says, you can go for the free option and just go through the videos yourself. Or, as we hope many of you will choose, is you can pay a small fee and become part of a course where you will interact directly with the tutors and get the feedback and be able to talk to the other students. And also get the certificate at the end. So more of that will be linked probably below, should I say, with the description that for this video.
So on that note, we're precisely 1 hour into the recording. I would like to, well, both of us, we'd like to invite you to the course. It's going to be fun. It's going to be informative. It'll be educational, and hopefully it will help you in your careers in ways we could not have done otherwise.